Hello, class. My name is Dr. Aisha Bonner-Kozad. Um, wow. I graduated from Howard with my master's in social work, also my PhD in gerontology and public policy. And with the exception of a short break, I've been teaching as an adjunct since I graduated. I love staying connected to the school, and also working in my field as well. Um, One of the questions in the introduction is what brought you to social work? And like a lot of people, I was working in a job in which I was doing social work. I didn't have the credentials. And that just never made sense to me. So at the time, I was working in a group home for emotionally disturbed youth. This was in upstate New York, and at that time, when you turned 18 and aged out of the youth system, social service system, there was a gap until you were 21, and that's when you became eligible for adult services. And so, some bright person said, well, these people had issues, struggling with challenges when they were 18, and those things didn't go away. And so for, 3 years, they're doing what? Just floating in the community with no access to services. That doesn't make any sense. So they wrote a grant and got the money and put together a program that serviced 18 to 21 year olds. And it was across the board, whether it was developmental disabilities, emotional issues, whatever. It covered the gambit. And I worked in a house as a counselor, and really it was fantastic, and it was a great idea. They really worked hard at continuing to implement the newest and best information that we had at the time. It was just a great place, but I wanted to be able to do more. So that's sort of how I got here. It wasn't necessarily something that I dreamt about from when I was a little kid, but I really enjoyed working with people, and when I finished my degree, I always intended to go back into direct practice, but I was convinced that the doctoral program would be a good fit, and turns out that it is, or was. I really enjoy research, and like with policy, which is one of my favorite areas, we need social workers to do other jobs besides direct service. We need social workers who are researchers, and social workers who are policymakers, and social workers who are administrators and work in the medical field. And there are lots of ways to help people. And one of the ways that I look at it is that the research I do touches many people, because it helps to inform policies and practice that ultimately touch hundreds and thousands of people. So there are lots of ways to do our work. This was a way that fit well for me, though I certainly see myself going back to do direct practice at another stage of my life. Social issues that are important to me, obviously anything that has to do with aging. Again, it's just so interesting. I really wanted to work with youth, but I had a graduate assistantship working with a gerontologist, and it really changed the trajectory of my career. we have so many issues with aging in the United States, from perception to really being so far behind in the development of policies and procedures to help deal with a booming aging population. It's been really great doing this work. I would say probably there are very few social issues that aren't important to me. So to start that list would it would make for a very long introduction video. So I am a little bit of personal information. I'm married. We have one son who's 13. We have one dog who's crazy in the way that only dogs can be, to be clear. I'm a big nerd. You can see my Wonder Woman painting in the back there. I'm a big fan of DC not so much, Marvel Universe, superheroes. I love Apple products. And occasionally when I have time, you might catch me on my PlayStation. But I really love the work that I do, and I love having an opportunity to continue to touch minds as people are building their way into the field. And I don't want to start on a rant on why social policy is so important, but real briefly, my experience is that typically the people who are making the policies and procedures are not social workers. They don't really necessarily understand the relationship between the policies they make and the impact on people's daily lives. For instance, when TANF was enacted, one of the rules was that if a mom was receiving benefits and the father of her children or child lived in the house with her, she would lose her benefits. Now, maybe from someone's perspective, that made sense, but from so many other perspectives, it really doesn't. I guess, and I think the other thing, if he wasn't working, was the issue. And so while maybe he wasn't providing financially, having another parent in the household, offers a different kind of benefit. And so the people who developed that policy clearly didn't think about that being something that would be important for those children. So I think it's critical that social workers who have been trained to look at issues in a very different way are sitting at those tables helping people make those decisions, or making the decisions, because I think we ultimately see the person in the environment differently, and it changes the kinds of decisions that we make. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to reading, maybe hearing or seeing some of you give your introductions, and looking forward to a great semester. Take care.